Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. This one is dedicated to a supporter of the channel who has been asking for a Richie Havens tune. And so this one goes out to the chairman. Thank you so much for the suggestion. Freedom by Richie Havens. I have a deep connection with the music of Richie Havens. It means a lot to me. One of his songs, Follow, is among my probably top 5 favorite all-time songs because the song, it does have kind of a sacred feel to it. So if you haven't heard that song, Follow, definitely check that out. I'll put a link in the description for it. So in this episode, in order to understand Richie Havens' music, you have to understand the way he plays. And so we will delve into that. I'm going to be tuning in a particular way, and it's called drop D minor. So that might be new to you. Anytime you're in a new tuning, it's an opportunity to kind of approach the instrument differently. So if you've been stagnating or you've been hesitating and picking up the instrument, here's a reason right now to go grab your guitar and come running back. If you don't have a guitar, you don't play, you just love great music, stick around anyways. We're going to be talking about a phenomenal musician. So we'll do the demonstration. About a minute later, we'll come right back and we'll jump into a celebration of Richie Havens. So thank you so much for joining us on Six String Philosophy. Richie Havens was born in 1941 in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. He grew up there. He was one of 9 kids and was active in music. When he was younger, he sang with groups, doo-wop groups, I guess, with a flavor of the day. So he sang. It would have been amazing to hear him on a street corner singing and hear his incredible voice breaking through other voices singing in harmony. It was kind of cool. Wish it was some of that we could hear. He became interested in folk music and started performing in downtown in the East Village at some of the same places like Cafe Wha that were a part of Bob Dylan's origin story as well. There, he honed his sound. You notice that he plays a very interesting way where he does a lot of grabs with basically his thumb and his pointer finger. You might have seen me doing that earlier. And so he said it was a way of simplifying the guitar. And he's a big guy, so it might have been hard for him to crush these chords like this and these different grips. Probably also just kind of developed a style. And like many people like Keith Richards, who had interesting tunings, Joni Mitchell, that ended up feeding into their unique style. So it's a lot of right hand, kind of furious strumming patterns, very emotional crescendos with his picking, and then a lot of just grabbing these roots in terms of fretting an entire chord all at once. The cool part about this is being tuned to a D minor. Anywhere that you make a grip like this, it becomes a minor chord, and if you want to make it major, all you do is tag on that little note on the G. So you're basically just raising that third is what that is. And so this ends up being tuned to an open D chord all the time. So it's kind of neat. If you never experimented with this, it's different than drop D, and it's different than a lot of the other things like dad gad, all these different tunings that you might have heard of before. This one is really cool, and I find myself keeping the guitar in this tuning and playing around with it, and just trying to learn where some of the natural places where I would lead out and solo are coming up with interesting outcomes and stuff. Probably one of the more interesting stories in his life is that he was called upon to open the Woodstock festival. All right. And Woodstock, for people of my generation who were not alive during Woodstock, we've seen the footage. It's really kind of hard to appreciate it all in one shot. But, Richie describes a time in which he was told that he had to open because the original opening act was caught in traffic. And so he ended up being flown by helicopter over the crowd. And by most, accounts today, conservatively speaking, it was at least 400,000 people there at Woodstock. So that's a baffling number. As he was flying over the crowd, his reaction to that was he looked out and he said, "Man, they can never dismiss us again." That was his feeling, was that there's too many of us now. Look at this incredible crowd that's shown up to celebrate music, to celebrate art, to celebrate peace, all these different great intentions for the Woodstock Festival in 1969. And so he came on stage, and not only did he open the show, which he was not looking forward to doing, I guess a lot of pressure there, and just, in terms of just getting everything right for the festival. Maybe being an opening act is kind of almost like a glorified sound check, maybe, I don't know, or maybe there was pressure, I'm not sure what he was thinking, but playing every song that he knew because they needed to stretch, they needed to stall it out, to give the other acts a chance to get ready to come on stage. And so he gave all of every song that he knew. He ran through his entire repertoire, ran out of ammunition eventually, and then came a moment of truth where he's staring out at the crowd, and the show directors are off stage going, "We need one more song." So he dug deep. He just started strumming his guitar, and out came this improvised song he basically composed on site in front of that entire crowd. And it's a song that he played every single time after that. Every time he ever played live, he played that song. And he told an anecdote one time where something happened and he had to leave a show before he played it, and the people stopped him outside, and said, you got to play the song for us. And so he played it outside of the venue with his acoustic guitar. I had the good fortune of seeing him play live, and what an amazing force. Like, his voice, you can tell in the albums, but you can really tell when you see him in person that he has this whisper, low tone, almost like a lullaby tone, that then kicks into a roar. So powerful. For some of his music, which I guess would be categorized as sort of folk music, but also some protest music and some other just great ballads, and his interpretations of songs that he covered, to me, surpassed the originals. And I would say that the two examples to check out would be Bob Dylan's "Just Like a Woman," as well as the Beatles' "Here Comes the Sun." His versions of those are outstanding. One of the things that I remember vividly from seeing him play live is at the end of the show, he comes out and, after his encore, and he does a big like crane kick karate move, and seeing this big dude, 6'6", come out and have that agility at his age, and he had been pushing 70 at that point. Unfortunately, he didn't live much longer than that. But I was so grateful to have seen him live and hear him talk between the songs, where he had so much concern for the younger generation, so much optimism about, how they were going to change the world. And that's another thing that he did that many people don't know about, is he had a foundation that was dedicated to helping kids study in the field of science and the environment. So he always had this feeling of like stewardship and wanting people to have a sense of community. Let's quickly go through the song. Remember, a lot of it is the right hand, and a lot of it is kind of, it's improvised. It's not like down, up, down patterns. When you see him playing, he plays it different every time. He does get into a fury of picking sometimes. That right hand going like, machine gunning. We did that tuning that I mentioned earlier. Spell it out one more time. You have D, drop D, A, which is a natural note there, D, no change. And then you have the G string is dropped down to a F. The B string is dropped to an A to match the A string. And the E string, the other E string, is also dropped to match this D. So you have 3 Ds there, you have 2 A's, and you have an F. And that makes out the D minor triad. So this whole thing reads like a D minor chord. And so for the rest of this, wherever you are gripping, you are basically creating a chord wherever you grab. And so for the purposes of this arrangement, we'll just use the frets, 9th fret, and that's where you're strumming. Just getting a groove going. And you can also pop off and so that popping off and giving that, changing that bass note is something he does occasionally. Then sliding down to the 2nd fret, okay? And you'll see him sometimes just use his entire thumb, and other people will double up on their pointer finger and do this to get that pressure. I'm a fan of half and half, and I've seen him do this a lot live, where he'll He'll cover with the pointer, the top, the highest 3 strings, cover with the thumb, the lowest 3 strings, and you can kind of selectively mute them. Get that scratch. Coming back. Now we're going to move to this, which is that 5th. If you were doing like, it's kind of like a 12-bar blues, if you're familiar with that. Now it hits that 5 chord, which happens to be on the 4th fret. And then 2 measures of that, and then you're going to add that raised 3rd, which creates a major chord. Get that crescendo, and right back. And he has different parts where he drifts into that. Clap your hands, clap your hands, clap your hands, clap your hands. Gets the crowd going. And he really does win the crowd over incredibly. If you watch the Woodstock footage, which will be linked here in the description, it really is amazing. And you know, gets the place whipped up to a fury for his last song, and it's a song they'd never heard before, and then exit stage right. All right, so please leave a comment, pick another song that is a song of freedom, and post it in the comments below. Check out the rest of Richie's amazing catalog. Let me know songs of his that you love as well. And till next time, have fun. See you on the next one. Thanks very much for visiting Six String Philosophy.